Chester Zoo is one of Britain's biggest zoos. 500 staff care for 7,000 animals. Today, a miracle baby gets a helping hand from the vets.
He's going to have more problems in the future.
It takes all sorts to make a world on Chimp Island.
They are as different and diverse as we are.
And Darren gets a new job.
I had no idea that I would be a responsible parent of a baby Chilean flamingo.
The head keeper of Chester Zoo's Asiatic lions, Alan Woodward, is a worried man. Lioness Asha is pregnant and at full term, but there's no sign of her going into labour. Her mate Asha is restless. He spends long periods of the day calling to her. Out of sight is clearly not out of mind. The last time Asha gave birth, her cubs were 2 weeks premature and they died. This time, everybody is more optimistic about the outcome. The keepers are even putting money on it.
There's a bit of a sweepstake going on at the moment throughout the section. People are guessing how many cubs she's going to have and what day they're going to be born on. It's quite difficult. I mean, she can have any amount from 1 to 4, really. Chandani, the female we had here before, she actually had 1 litter of 4, which is quite exceptional. But it's usually 2 to 3 around there. Asha is looking quite big, so really it could be any guess, yeah. And there's quite a few different amounts going around on the section, really. I'd be glad when she actually has them and she's rearing them herself. That'll be a great relief, really. We're still waiting with bated breath. Every morning I come in and check her, and every morning things are just the same, but I'm sure quite soon we'll come in and things will be quite different.
Even after the cubs are born, Asha will have a long wait before his loved one returns. There's been a welcome break in the weather, and after days of heavy rain, the sun has finally come out. Yesterday, the torrential downpour caused water levels to rise at Flamingo Lake, threatening to wipe out the birds' nest sites.
I've really never known this before.
The keepers did everything they could to hold back the water.
It's going to be a long job, I think, and a wet and muddy one.
But eventually, they had to intervene and rescue some of the chicks before it was too late.
If we don't get them off, the chick will just chill and die.
Most were reunited with their parents, but sadly, for one chick, there was no happy ending. 4-day-old Pinky was rejected by his mother and father. It's now up to senior keeper Darren Langford to rear him by hand.
This diet is composed by San Antonio Zoo, and it's quite a successful rearing diet. It consists of mysid shrimps. These are frozen ones which we get off the aquarium. The parents basically live on small shrimps, very similar to the mysid shrimp, algae and small single-celled animals. Sprats, which we get from the penguins, hard-boiled egg yolks, again high in protein, etc. First feeds at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's fed every 3 hours for the first 7 days, up till midnight, so midnight will be its last feed. After 7 days, the feeds go then to 4 hourly, and after 14 days, the chick is then basically picking up food itself, and it's fed, say, every 6 hours throughout the day. And that's what we end up with, a fish paste. Ugh, yes, very. Ugh. What's ideal for rearing flamingos, and not for a garden party at all. It's not an easy feat to rear a flamingo, especially a Chilean flamingo, which this is. These aren't very often reared in captivity. A lot of people have better results with greater flamingos. It's a lot more common in captivity. It's a more gregarious bird. Just let him be aware we're here, and place the pipette in the groove on the bottom mandible. This is the bottom mandible, and gently let it seep down the chick's throat. You'll often find that when a parent bird is a successful breeder, they actually lose their pink plumage because they concentrate all their energy into feeding their chick rather than enhancing their own plumage colour. So that's that first syringe full done. We'll just let him have a little rest, and I'll just wipe his mouth. No excess food becomes dry on it. We're not as expertise as the parents. There you go. He's just taken 9 mils of food. That's the most he's taken in one feed. So each feed he's taking more and more and getting stronger and stronger. So I might even have another go at offering him some more, but before that I have to let that digestive bit in his crop. So I let him have a cool moment, because the parents would let him have a cool moment too. They're not going to sit on the chick constantly.
For Darren, it's a labour of love.
It's not a 9 to 5, and you never know what you're going to come to work to. I had no idea that I was be a responsible parent of a baby Chilean flamingo.
Specialist keeper Neil Ormrod is keeping an eye on the 30 residents of Chimp Island. It's a job he's done many times before.
Been with the chimps, must be 35 years, so it's almost all these I've known since they were born.
The chimps spend most of their lives on their 1-acre island. But at feeding time, they come inside where Neil can see them close up to make sure they're fit and healthy.
In here now.
Chimps will share food, but they're just as likely to steal it. It's every chimp for himself.
They'll be coming through these 2 slides, and there might be quite a bit of noise. We're going out onto the island now, and if I've ticked them all off right, there's none out here. Just spread it around, let them forage for it. Farthing, she'll always go for oranges first. Boris usually goes for bananas, sometimes pears. Wilson's usually quite happy sitting down chewing on an onion.
Though chimps travel mostly on the ground, they often use trees to feed, and the island has been built with this in mind.
If we're feeling very energetic, can go up in the hammock for it as well. But we're mixing it all up so that nobody can come out and say, get all the bananas. They'll get a big handful and they'll have, a bit of everything. Primate 5 to primate 1.
Go ahead.
OK, Andy, let him out. Oh, it's Boris, and Nikki, and Cleo. All quiet again.
Because the keepers only intervene in extreme situations, the chimps are free to develop their own complex social system, with all the friendships, rivalries and politics that entails. The dominant male at Chester used to be 40-year-old Boris, but now there's a new kid on the block.
Dylan there, he's the dominant male now. He's, 18? He has never been handled in his life. He's never been picked up. He's never had to been tranquilised for an illness or anything like that. So he's as wild as you can get in captive terms.
Swiftly rising through the ranks and establishing his position in the group is 7-year-old Jethro.
He's a solid little chimp. He's got a lot of growing still to do, but he's solid. In years to come, he'll probably be the dominant male. Both sexes have a hierarchy, and our dominant female's Cleo, and she's very good. She's probably the most intelligent chimp in the group. She's useless with her own babies, but she's great with everybody else's babies. She's sort of everybody's favourite auntie. One of the other males, Nicky, he's probably the biggest chimp we've got in the group. He's probably the strongest chimp we've got in the group. But dominance is determined by a combination of size, strength, popularity, intelligence, and also desire to be the dominant one. Now, Nicky certainly hasn't got any desire to be the dominant one, and he's certainly not the most intelligent chimp in the group. They are as different and diverse as we are in all aspects. One of the ones I'm very fond of, though, is Heidi. She was the first one to be born after I started here, so I think that's possibly why I'm quite fond of her. And the baby to the left, as we look, that's a little Rhiannon. The younger ones tend to eat quickly and run away in case one of the bigger ones takes it off. Obviously, if you're one of the dominant ones, you can take your time, you can gather your food around yourself and just sit there and casually eat it, because nobody's going to have the bottle to come and take it off you. They've all gone inside now. The sleeping area's opened up, so they've got fresh bedding in there, and that'll be it for the day. You get so much back from these. I remember the first baby I saw being born. The mum went into labour about 9 o'clock in the morning. The head popped out, and she put her hand round, got hold of the head, and pulled it out. Then she held it out for me to touch. You know, when you've got that trust of an animal, you can't describe it.
In the reptile house at Chester Zoo, head keeper Isolde McGeorge is concerned about a baby Komodo dragon called Indy.
He's one of 4 baby Komodo dragons that we have here. He hatched out on the 19th of January. After a few days, we noticed that there were quite a bit of swelling around his ankle and knee joints, particularly his right hind. So we decided that it was important for the vet team to give him a good look over.
The hatching of Indy and his 3 siblings took the keepers and the entire scientific community by surprise, because their mum Flora had never been mated with a male dragon. The story of the so-called virgin birth became worldwide news.
He's got sharp claws as well, so watch your arms.
At the Animal Health Centre, head vet Stephanie Sanderson and senior nurse Karen Homer are getting ready to X-ray Indy.
We're just giving a little bit of gas so that he goes to sleep. Because when we take his X-rays, we need him to be very, very still. Mammals tend to breathe quite fast. Reptiles are quite good at holding their breath, and they'll take many fewer breaths. So if you had the mask on your face, you'd probably go to sleep quite quickly, whereas these guys, they can take quite a bit longer.
6 months ago, vets discovered that the young Komodo dragon had arthritis in his joints.
He got an infection that went into his bloodstream, and then it went to several of his joints.
Here we go.
Well, a floppy reptile.
They want to compare today's X-rays with the previous pictures to see if there's been any change in his condition.
As you can see with the normal knee, it can straighten out the same as anybody's knee can, so the same as a human's knee can, and that's what we'd expect to happen, that knee can go completely straight. On this side, however, the arthritis in the knee means that he can't extend it more than that. Now he can get around very well, but when he becomes a big adult dragon, that may well be a big problem for him.
While Indy is on the examination table, resident vet James Chatterton takes the opportunity to microchip him.
In the back left leg, by convention. This is a permanent ID, and this means we can distinguish this animal from any other for the rest of its life. I've been qualified 7 years. In that time I've microchipped hundreds and thousands of dogs and cats, but this is definitely the first morning I've had to microchip Komodo dragons, so each day is a new day at the zoo, really.
When Indy is asleep, the team gently position him on the X-ray table.
This was an X-ray that we took previously, and the back leg, the knee that he has such a problem with, is this one here. If you compare the two knees, this is a normal looking knee, and you can see the joint there. And this knee here, you can see the end of the bone is all fuzzy, and that's because the infection got into the joint and it started eating away at the bone. So this is the picture that we've taken today. This is the knee that we're having such a problem with. And this has got lots of new bone growth. And you see the big blobs at the end of each bone? They're acting, stopping the bone from moving.
The new bone growth is limiting movement in his knee and could be a sign of more trouble to come.
As he becomes a big heavy dragon, the weight on that joint is going to be so much more, and it's quite likely that he's going to have more problems in the future.
Head keeper Alan Woodward has left the lions and moved on to his next job.
We're at the kangaroo enclosure now. I'm just about to feed them. The food that we actually give them is quite varied. It's vegetables and fruit, and we also have a pelleted diet which has all the vitamins and minerals they require. So it's a very balanced diet, and as you can see, they do extremely well on it. We have about 2 joeys every year. This kangaroo's Foster. This is the one I hand-reared 8 years ago. He's quite a character, but he definitely knows he's a kangaroo. I brought him back into the zoo after I had him at home for 2 months. I think he still recognises me. I mean, now and again he will come up and sort of smell my hand and then just hop off. So what I'm doing now, I'm just putting some of the fruit on these sticks, which just gives the kangaroos something else to aim for once they finish the main food in the dishes. It makes them stretch a bit and it gives them something to look for afterwards. Really, with the kangaroos, they could actually clear this fence if they wanted to, but because this is their territory and they've been here all their lives, they've got no need to actually go over the fence, so they're quite safe within this enclosure. The kangaroos can be quite nervous, but if they're cornered, they can be quite aggressive, especially the male kangaroos. They have extremely powerful tails and extremely powerful hind legs. They lean back on their tails and actually hit you with the legs, with quite a force. A couple of years ago with Buster, he had a bit of rheumatism in his leg and we had to examine him. It took about 4 of us to keep him down. I was the last one to actually leave the enclosure and he actually jumped on my back and floored me, which wasn't a nice experience, really.
Aggressive kangaroos apart, Alan's love of animals goes back a lifetime.
I actually started in zoos when I was about 11, school holidays and weekends in South Wales. And I came to Chester when I was about 17 and a half and virtually grown up in the zoo. I mean, the zoo's been my life now for 33 years. It's more like a way of life rather than a job. And we are extremely lucky to be here, really.
On Flamingo Lake, all is calm. The birds have rebuilt their flooded nest site after the heavy rains and settle down again in peace and harmony. And there's good news about Pinky, the chick rejected by his parents. He's being hand-reared by senior keeper Darren Langford and is thriving.
As you can see, he's really vocal and really eager for his feed. Some added utensils in his little brooder at the moment. There's a foster mum to replicate me when I'm not about, and a mirror. It makes him feel like he's got company of something his own sort. The chick's recovery is absolutely remarkable. From the little almost dead bird that we picked up off the nest to this little thriving creature now is absolutely unbelievable. Unfortunately though, there is a downside to this rearing a flamingo chick, and that is called imprinting. Imprinting is when the bird socialises me as its parent and not other flamingos. So what we've got to do now is try and teach this bird that it's a flamingo.
It's time for Darren to take a step back and say goodbye to Pinky.
Well, this is handover time. Pinky's going to be going now to the artificial incubation room. Right, here's the handover now. Come on, little fella.
Now it's senior keeper Laura Jordan's turn to play mum.
There we go, Lars. The chicks do need stimulus to move around. They need to exercise their limbs. With the parents, they'll be actually moving great distances, climbing on and off the parents' nest mound. So the chick will be housed in an open-topped brooder with a heat lamp, and obviously his utensils he's got in here, the mirror, his artificial mum, and hopefully in a couple of days his companion flamingo chick.
Oh, he looks great. Last time I saw him, he was much smaller. So he'll start picking up food for himself. So we'll just see how he settles in here, see that he sits in place he should, which is under the heat lamp.
That's great there, just watching him stretch his little wings and his legs. It's great to see him have a bit more space and see his pseudo friend in the mirror. And it'll be wonderful when the next abandoned eggs hatch and they can form a little creche of their own. By the time the chicks are 6 months old, they should probably be residing with the adult flock, and they should be fully feathered then and able to care for themselves. Probably be quite sorry to see it go, but I know it's for the best that the chick is reunited with his parent group. Obviously, I'm here for any help that Laura will need with feeding because I know how exhausting this task can be. But tomorrow I can have a lie-in at last.
Next time, Boris takes a beating. It's lesson number 1 for Chester's baby penguins. And a new arrival causes quite a stir.